Hey guys, it is Friday, which means a new episode here from Podcast These Get Degrees. I'm your guest, Chad. Yeah, I'm back. Sit back and relax, guys. We have a new guest, Eric Jackson, all the way from Eagle River, sitting here and talk philosophy and stuff on this new recent podcast. So this will be a two-part podcast here. This is going to be part one and a part two. We're going to be talking about his brand new book. We're going to be talking about farming. We're going to be talking about Christianity. We're going to be talking about life. Just a good old-fashioned chit-chat. So once again, guys, thank you for the recent downloads. And please go visit all your podcast outlets and give us a review. Once again, on everything, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify. And I know I'm missing a few here, but otherwise, enjoy this beautiful Friday, guys. Sit back and relax. This one's going to be a little bit longer. This one's going to be a fun-filled moment. We're going to be chit-chatting. We're going to be laughing. We're going to do whatever. Happy Friday, y'all. C. Smith, deuces. Uncle Charlie's out. Wow, man, you're sideways.
Am I? Hold on, let me try it out. I'm doing it with my phone. I've been trying out some different ways to do it where it's going to be like easy.
Yeah.
There, is that better?
Oh man, yeah, no, you're fine. And technically, I was just joking around with it. This is going to be audio only, so
right.
You're fine if you're sideways. I don't care. I'm trying to wake up here too.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. I think ragweed season is upon us because I woke up and I just feel like there's a pool of water behind my eyes. I'm like, whew. So it's funny. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, go ahead. I know what's on my mind here in 2 seconds. I'm gonna give my 2 seconds or my explanation of it, but go ahead on your end of it because down here might be a little bit different in Green Bay.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because I grew up in Northeast Wisconsin, so I've never had allergies ever in my life, but we moved up to the Minocqua area, and I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden it was immediate, just allergies, full on seasonal, and they talking to people, they're just saying the pine is so heavy up here that even living in I grew up in the Marinette area, it's an hour north of Green Bay.
Yeah.
And it's just there just isn't nearly as many pine trees, and so the pollen here is just, it's crazy. When it's springtime, you'll go outside and your car will have a half inch of there, the dust, the yellow dust, every single day.
Yeah, hold on here 2 seconds, man. You were spinning. It's my phone, not your end of it. So
Okay.
all right, we're good. What was going on was I was trying to multitask here and charge my iPhone at the same time. But on your pine, where it turns your car green, it's like a half inch of green on your car or yellow or whatever it is. I don't remember what it was because we would camp in Wapaka all the time and do the same thing. Where you'd wake up and it'd just be I'm gonna call it wheat in the field, man. You just look and your car is just scattered with green.
It is. It's crazy. It's crazy because, like I said, I'd never had allergies. I didn't think I had them until I moved up here, and then all of a sudden, it's I gotta schedule my life around am I gonna feel like garbage this week or not? It's crazy. So I don't know, but so that's I think my deal with just struggling waking up. But that's what I know. I lived in Green Bay for a while, so how you doing? You liking it there?
It's funny thing is, I actually went to Menasha, and yes, I do know Nicole on your Facebook or whatever the mutual friend is with Nicole. I went to school with her. I was in her class.
Dashner?
Could be that one. It was tall, skinny girl.
No, that wouldn't have been her. Semero?
Hold on here 2 seconds. I'll figure it out. But no, I'm a Menasha boy, so it's I grew up. I'll find out in 2 seconds here. I found Wow. It's Friday morning, man. My brain's not quite
Dude.
working yet. Nicole Variant, and I think it was Modern High School, but she got married and changed her name.
Oh, yep, I got you. I worked with her in Green Bay. That's how we know each other. We both worked at Globe University before it shut down.
Yeah,
So that's how I know her.
she's a classmate of mine. Me and her know each other well.
Nice. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, but no, like so I grew up in Menasha, Appleton area. Obviously, you know, down in that neck of the woods now. Ended up moving. So I'm even though it says Menasha, I was actually a country boy in the city. So
Yep.
I my passion at the time was agriculture. So I
Yep.
got my 2 year and went to River Falls and kind of stayed out west until 2017. So out west would be like Eau Claire, Hudson, that stretch, that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Um, the thing with the allergies is actually I was getting crazy over there, and I
Mhm.
saw a holistic treatment girl. So she actually, for some odd reason, she switched my body and focused on my gut and completely wiped away probably. And she didn't do everything, but 75-80% of it is gone.
Wow. That's awesome. And
So
I'm into that stuff. So I mean, I'm interested in hearing.
yeah, she's a phenomenal. She is in Hudson. I don't know. I can send a message out to her to see what the one near you. It might be in Wausau or it might be in Tomahawk. But I'm assuming how big Minocqua is, you gotta have one downtown up there. Now, I'm not saying because it's 5,000-6,000 people, but everyone from Illinois and it's a tourist area, so I'm sure there's one up there.
Yeah.
Um, but no, she completely wiped out. I don't want to say she did a full detox a few times. So I was on like a 6 month program, and
Yeah.
then she completely switched it around. And after the detox, for like a month of detox, and she actually went and say, okay, let's focus on your allergies. So she had these little, like an allergy test. You have those little things that they poke on you. Well,
Yeah.
she didn't have the poke. She just would go based off your nervous system. So she would
Mhm.
you would do something, and it's tough to explain if you're not in it every day, but
Right.
she would have you like pinch one side on your left hand, and then she would raise your left hand or your right
Yep.
hand.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, right. This doesn't work. All of a sudden, she brought something near me, and she got my body so in sync that I would
Wow.
know, like that, going through a grocery store, what my body wanted. You go right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough to explain if you're not in it every day, like
Right.
seriously in the treatment. But I would go through and I could go, especially what we noticed with red dyes and stuff. I would go near like a pre-workout, and it'd just be like my body's just complete head fog, and
Wow.
that's because your body doesn't want it.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome. I will have to look into that because I got tested. There was a holistic place in town, and it was something where they they did a test, and it's similar to what you're talking about. So it might be like at like that. But I know like in talking to like what our treatment would have been, it was a situation where it was like I know the person I went to was just really big on like sewer gas and stuff like that. And at the time we were renting,
Yeah,
and I was just like, I know like I'm not going to be able to control that. So if I spend all this money to test to see, and it turns out that that is the problem, there's nothing really I can do about it. And so it was kind of like at that point, I was like, all right, like I'm just going to wait and just kind of see. Cause like you said, I think diet is a huge part of it. And my wife and I are really trying to switch to more of a just clean eating, of just like not like I only eat this kind of food or that kind of food, but just to the as much as we can eat food that we know what it is and we know where it came from and stuff like that. And when I do that, it makes a huge difference.
yeah, and I work out typically every day. This morning was a little shorter yoga, so like I work at Green Packaging, so when you're up here, you understand the mills and stuff that they're in there.
Yeah.
That just pays my bills while I do this stuff outside. But in
Yeah.
there, I do a lot of the ground clearance, whatever. So like I'll take a package rip it, flap, do whatever I need to do, put it, stack it. So I have a very high energy job on top of me being high energy to begin with. So
Right.
um, I I it's not even a selfish way of saying this. I can't gain weight right now just because of I think I got like 25,000 steps at work on top of working out in an hour each day. So
yeah,
what I noticed with mine is I actually do intermediate fasting not to lose weight. I do it just for my head. And
yes,
usually I would start by now, and I do have a sandwich right next to me right now, but I eat from 10 to 6. I work
yep,
second shifts, so it actually, my last food is my first break. And
yep,
then I will obviously start now because I wake up at like 8 o'clock, but the rest is all fast.
yep,
And it is phenomenal. And obviously, yes, I do have allergies, but I'm throwing in some local honey actually. If I go to festival and I get the ones that are from like the Wild Rose, Wapaka area, I am perfectly fine. Um,
yeah,
but like I said, if I'm hacking trees down, doing chainsaw or whatever it is, yeah, I'm definitely gonna be red. And the thing about it here is combines are rolling now too, and choppers. So all
yep.
the boys are cracking open the farm fields. So whatever's in there is gonna get blown all over the place. So I think this month now till I know we're ahead in fall here, so I'm gonna say probably now till give or take Halloween. It's gonna be a little bit tougher
Yeah.
until that first frost comes.
Yeah, no, it's awesome that you said, because I've been doing intermittent for a while, and that was a game changer for me, because it just matched. I'm just not hungry in the mornings. I'm a nighttime eater. That's always been. So like that's why, I mean, at one point in my life I was 300 pounds. I was a big dude, and it was because like I'd eat at night, and then you just naturally are like, well, I'm supposed to eat a big breakfast. That's what like people say, and so I do more of like a 2 to 10, like because I'm just not hungry in the morning. I drink a bunch of black coffee and I love it. And then I'm just good to go. And that was a huge shift for me, to just have my body have like just that 8 hour eating window. And so like that was a huge shift for me too. So for me, it's like, and that's what I've heard too. I've heard people really push, like, if you can get local honey, it helps your body. It's almost like a natural vaccine. Like it gives your body enough of those allergens in something that it can deal with, and then it helps it process it. So I want to do that. The person who was telling me was like, no, it's got to be like your trees. Like he was someone who like, he literally has his own bees.
Oh
And
man,
but
I
then
don't have the patience for that.
no, and I was like, I don't think, but I think like you said, if you can get it within 30 miles of where you live, I mean, I feel like there's going to be some big benefits to that. So yeah, man, it sounds like we're kind of on that same journey, because that's where I'm at. Is it's like, just for me, it's like intuitive, like learning how to be intuitive with my eating and how I do things, trying to feel out. I'm a very big proponent on like, your body is your ally. Like it wants to do good, it wants to help you. And so rather than like trying to get your body like, under your thumb and just you do what I tell you, trying to work with it a little bit more and be like, okay, why are you sending me these signals? How can I set you up to really be in a good place? And so that's been a good shift for
Yeah, and
me.
on even so during the week I'm pretty strict to my diet, and I'm not going to go too in depth here. It's what it works for me. I have heavy carbs in the morning to get me up pumped and stuff, especially it's built around protein and carbs just for the sake of working out and work. But um, on the weekends though, that's when uh, Corey G Fitness is actually kind of what I followed. Not I follow it loosely. Like I'm not on his program or anything. I just mirror what he teaches a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
when you look at it, he'll fast 5 days a week, and then when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the weekend, he's like, and obviously he drinks. I'll have some NA stuff. I can't have alcohol for personal reasons, but he goes, I'll hit the weekend, I'll have the ice cream, I'll have the beer. He's like, and the reason why is he goes, because you're gonna be not struggling. He goes, you be on a diet for so long, and all of a sudden you're just declining everything. He goes, and you beat yourself up.
Yeah.
So he goes, that's why during the week he calls it anabolic fasting, whatever it is. But he's like, it's not true fasting. It is true fasting, but it's not. He goes, on the weekends, it's all yours. He goes, I want
Right.
you guys to go out, party, have fun, just kind of, reset your brain a little bit,
Right.
and then during the week jump back in it. So that's why I noticed it's like I will fast Sunday, so like 5 days. Tonight I probably be okay because I have to go back to Appleton late tonight, but tomorrow I will not be on it. And it I can definitely tell because like I said, the head fog and the timing and all that stuff, I could definitely tell when I'm off
Yeah.
it. But when it's just, I want that freedom to where if I have, like whatever, one of the NAs, I can actually get away with it and I can have some ice cream and stuff. So it's
For
definitely
sure.
the more I went, I'm a big component of the dairy industry. I will tell you this right now. I have a lot of friends that farm, and I have all the love and respect for the guys because they work their tail off.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot eat much dairy. It's just
Yeah.
whatever it is with the milk and all that stuff, I cannot touch it because I just feel like garbage.
Yep.
And it's not, I don't think it's chemicals or whatever. I think it's just how it's all getting processed now.
Yep. I agree. I can have a little bit of cheese with stuff, but like anytime I go real heavy on cheese, or even if I were to, drink a big glass of milk or whatever, it's not even gut stuff. It's just like you said, it's the head fog. That's my biggest issue. And for me, it works out because like when I have breakfast, like the rest of the day, like my brain is just, it's a different thing. Like you said, you can feel it. And so every once in a while I will, like if we've got people over and like we make a big breakfast, I'll eat just because like I feel the pressure, but there's really nothing in me that like wants to. It's just like I don't want to be that dude that's like not eating. But I think for me it's that the biggest switch for me is, whether you want to call it clean eating, for me it's just more of a knowing what I'm eating, being able to like connection eating. That's what I've realized is the more that I can connect to what I'm eating and I go, hey, I know like this is pasta we made. We took the flour and we made it, or, this is venison from a deer I got, or this is a cow from like a farm, that's, I don't know, for me, it's something that happens emotionally where I just view it very differently when I can make a connection to like, hey, I know where this is from. I know what it took to get this. And so we're trying to move to that. We got really into canning this past kind of early fall, like a month ago, and it was just a blast. I really enjoyed it, and now we just have so much stuff where I know exactly where it's from.
Well, it's like an old farm basement. Walk in the basement, and you got cans everywhere. Hey, what do you want to eat today? And then you just see like a sea of cans against the wall. At least,
Exactly. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's like my ex-wife's house, or what, ex-wife's parents' house. You just walk down, you just look. It's like, oh wow, okay. And I
Yep.
enjoy everything. It's like a process. It's like deer hunting and stuff. The process part of it, everyone enjoys because it's a family gathering.
Yes. Well, and I found even for my wife and I, it is something, we don't watch a lot of the same TV shows, and but we have found with whether you want to call it like some people call it subsistent living or just whatever it is, we really enjoy, like we just went and we spent a whole day out in the woods and it was awesome. So I was doing some grouse hunting and she was foraging for mushrooms. We got like a bunch of edible mushrooms in our area. And it was like, wow, this is like in canning and stuff like that, it was something we truly both enjoy doing together. And so like you said, it's like a family thing. And then now, when we go to have pasta sauce or whatever, it's like, hey, we have a connection to this. We know, because we have friends who have these massive gardens, and we got like literally 50 pounds of tomatoes just given to us because they're like, we don't know what to do with these. And so to be able to take that probably would have just gotten thrown away and make it into like a year's worth of food. There's just something pretty cool about that. So, and I find I don't overeat when I connect to it. It's like, let me go to McDonald's where I have no connection to the food, and then I'll just eat like, 3,000 calories and not think about it. But when I'm like, hey, I know how this deer, got harvested and all that, then I tend to respect it a little more when I eat it. So I think that's for me the key moving forward is whether you want to call it connection eating or whatever it is. I just think for basically every single uh, whether you want to call it community or nationality, you know, in the history of man, the having a connection to the food you eat is like basic to everybody. That's always been part of it. Feels like we're kind of the first in America right now, the first people who really have disconnected completely from their food.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it goes long time ago, especially with me and you were on the same page with our faith foundation, but it goes back to like the native side of it, where yeah, they harvest the deer, and it's like each little animal they had the respect for what it took care of their life and how it took care of it, and then it went into like us coming over with the farming. Okay, so the farming side, the gardens, whatever took care of the family, cows, but vice versa. I don't want to get too far into exactly what each is, but yeah, I can definitely understand it because now I'm 34. I was to say people in their 20s, if they're not around it, and that's the number one thing I notice, especially being in the egg community, that if you're in it, you get it, you totally get it, you know where your food's coming from.
Yeah.
If you remove yourself from it and you go, I'm gonna use downtown Green Bay for example, like people be like, I'll be like, hey, this is a cow from, like you said, Joe Blow's yard or whatever, and people are like, oh, that's a steak, I just go to festival for it. It's like,
Yep.
okay, so where did that come from? I don't even know. I don't even know how that's raised. So
Yep.
it's a complete, with all the great benefits of what's going on with the technology, that lost art kind of completely faded away.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you have, and obviously I don't agree with everything, but like I listen to Joe Rogan from time to time because I do think he is a me where I don't agree with everything. I think it's good for everybody to actively listen to some people that maybe aren't going to perfectly just confirm all their beliefs. But he makes a good point with it to where it's like you're bringing yourself back into kind of the circle of life. It's like there's a really hard reality to life of like everybody competing, everybody like something has to die for something else to live, and it's this really harsh reality that we've tried to separate ourselves from. And I just think there's something really valuable to like you can pretend, but ultimately like we can't separate, like we are part of it. And so to actually just accept it and be like, so I'm going to put myself back in a place where I understand the work it takes to have food or the sacrifice it takes, and so now I'm actually appreciating it, and I'm allowing myself to accept that I'm a part of this harsh, difficult thing that life is. And I think for me, at least, that's where I start to get back to understanding the beauty of life. Because I can deal with like melancholy, like apathy, like what are we doing? Am I just kind of going through motions every day? But the more I can, you allow yourself to accept the harshness of life. And I think it allows you to really see the beauty of it, and at the same time, even in the mundane things. So that's been a huge shift for me in the past, I would say, year or two.
Yeah, and I love Joe Rogan, not love. I have, he's got a little place with some influence. It's not my answer for you on Joe was probably the exact same one. There's a lot of great things I learned from him, and then there's a lot of things where it's like, okay, dude, God's first for me. I'm not gonna, like when
Yes.
you're like, I don't care what spiritual thing you do. It's like, no, 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 no. Like I have to have my foundation first. Of it,
Yes.
though, like him, where he's showing the difference between the cage free and the regular eggs. There is a big difference now, and I'm not that person to sit here and go, hey, I have to have both. It just I can tell because my body will tell me what it likes and what it doesn't. But the one that sticks in my head is where he talks about elk hunting, where he's like, because I love hunting across, I love whitetail, but he's like, I love elk because he goes, here you're in Nevada or wherever he goes. He goes, you got to understand this animal fends for itself. He goes, it's the toughest animal out there. And he's like, it's in the mountains. Everything's coming after it. He goes, testosterone, whatever it is, if it's a bull or cow or whatever that he takes care of. He's like, you got to understand there's wolves running after this thing every day. He goes, it's grabbing and scrapping, brush, whatever it needs to do to stay alive. He's like, so your energy or whatever the energy built into that meat, he goes, it's gonna, that primate or whatever word he puts on it, he goes, that's gonna be in your food that you're gonna eat, and you're gonna take that same proteins or whatever built break it and go on you. He's like, I'm not saying that you're gonna get the spirit that it has, but it's like the native thing. He's like, so everything that's involved in it now you're putting on your table to keep you moving.
Yeah.
And I totally get that part, but yeah, there's some other stuff with Joe. It's like, okay, dude, slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I think even with Christian people, I have found that there's very few people that I can just unabashedly be like, hey, everything this person says, I'm going to give influence. Like, I've just learned I've got to constantly, even if it's from someone who's a Christian, you know, and I even tell my congregation this, to do it with me, is like, you always have to be doing that check of like, okay, this sounds good. Does this follow what I know of scripture? Does this make sense and stuff like that? But it's really interesting, the science that they're finding between there's studies of how, like, if you're someone who's constantly thinking negative thoughts, it literally rewires not just your brain, but like the proteins in your body. And they found even like someone who is in a really unhealthy state, when they like conceive a child, that child has a much higher chance of being in an unhealthy state, versus if somebody, even if they're like have been obese, if they've made some really good changes and they've lost weight and started building muscle, it's like when they conceive, it changes, like your body actually changes based on what you're doing. We're not this set, like, so if you look at something like an elk, like you said, if it's free and it's strong and it's athletic and it's like going out and doing stuff, that changes what it is inside. And so you got to assume, if you're eating a meat based on something that was just locked away its whole life versus something like that, you're going to be getting something different in your body when you eat it.
And you know, briefly, a lot of the listeners here, some are from Green Bay, some are not. Obviously, in Green Bay, there's a processing plant that takes care of some beef. It's called American dress beef or American or JBS or whatever the correct label is of it. The bulk of them coming through are actually steer fed or corn fed or whatever, like holding cages, which I've been around them many years of my life, so there's nothing wrong with it. It's just lifestyle that the guys have. But we call them cutter cows, cull cows, whatever it is, box cows. So the ones you get in the store that are in those frozen boxes, even though they say they're Black Angus and all that, but it's the cull cows. So you got the ones that are feeling like garbage. Everything's pumped through them for the guys to keep them alive, at least to get them in slaughter. And you don't. It's safe, but you're pretty much getting a temporary, use my analogy here, but a blown up flat tire to get you to town to get your healthy tire.
Yeah.
So it's
well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
The thing that I find really interesting is that there's some people who it's just not a big deal for, because I've seen it. Like, I've literally seen guys who can eat fast food and they are super high energy, they're high performers, they feel great, they wake up good to go, they don't need coffee or caffeine. And so, you know, for me, it's like, man, if you can, then, you know, you do what makes sense for you. I think, you know, but more and more, I think our bodies are just kind of rejecting what's going on right now. So I think that's just what the interesting part is. I look at people who, like, really, it's like, I don't know, just a different way their body is designed, and they can just process basically whatever, and it doesn't matter what they eat. They can eat this amazing clean meal of a local cow and garden raised vegetables, and to them it's like, I don't feel any different than if I go to McDonald's. So it's like, I see where, because I think even Joe Rogan at some point said, I understand not everybody can go and hunt for all their food. There's too many people. But I think for me, I've just realized that it is something that I need to do. Like, it's just, my body is, like I said, I'm learning to, instead of trying to reject and overcome my body is just try to listen to it and just understand, like, my body's on my side. It wants to do its best job, and it's sending me signals based on what it needs. And so rather than arguing and fighting with it, I'm just going to try to listen to it and do my best. And even for me, it's been a very slow process, and it's going to continue to be a slow process trying to shift to what I would ultimately want to be at long term.
Yeah, and today I'm kind of sluggish a little bit, but the reasoning for it is I exactly what you just said. Me and you are pretty much on the same wavelength here.
Yeah.
I've been running very, very hard with work, with working out, with editing pods at night, whatever it is. So like my schedule's very, very busy. So when I hit Thursday and Friday, especially this week, I had a lot of lack of sleep this week. So today it's definitely sluggish, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to beat myself up too much because usually I'm in the gym till 10 o'clock in the morning, but I'm like, I'm not going to the gym today. I'm going to do 15, 20 minutes of yoga and just kind of get my body in sync and kind of, because I can wake up in the morning and you can hear severely snap, crackle, pop, where it's not saying something's not wrong. It just means that your body's tired. I barely get sick, but I know when something's coming because you could just feel when that comes. But yeah, this morning I'm not, usually I would go to the gym and do about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half of just straight pure lifting and all that stuff. But just today, it's not saying I'm not like sluggish or not. It don't want to do it, not the negative talk of it. It's more of my body needs this break.
Yeah. Well, and if biblically, rest is something we were designed for. So, I mean, like, that's where, I've tried to read those books of just, the motivational books of how to just be a go-getter and how to just overcome and work and hustle and grind and all those things. And it doesn't ever feel right for me, unless you were made to do that. And there are some people who it's like, that's just, they love it. They love just going. But those people probably don't need to read that book because they're probably doing that already. But it's like, for me, it's just realizing as I read the Bible, it's like, first of all, like, God literally said, like, I designed you for rest. So like, your body isn't wrong in saying, hey, I need a break. I need to just relax. But also, it's just like, for me, the more that I read the Bible and the more I try to understand, and it's funny because I'll say some of these things and people will be like, well, that's just, worldly hocus pocus. That's not biblical stuff. But it's like, you have to realize most of the things that work are actual biblical things that the church has just like said, we don't want this. And the world has kind of figured out and are trying to implement them without God. And so they're not getting the full benefit, but there's always going to be some benefit to using biblical principles, whether it's financially or, with your diet or with your thoughts. The whole idea of positive thinking, that's a biblical concept that the church just kind of decided we don't need. And the world said, well, we can use that. And so, for me, the more I read the Bible, the more that I see it's like, we're supposed to be taking care of our body. It's like, we've been given this thing that we have authority over. And as I read the Bible, it's anything that you've been given and you have authority to use, you should be a good steward of that. And so that's why I guess people would call me more of a hippie-ish Christian, but I do look at our planet and I do look at our bodies, and I do think that we've been called to be good stewards of everything we've been given. And so for me, I've been much more challenged in that way.
And I was smiling when you were saying this because I had this question yesterday on a podcast, and she goes, what book are you reading? And I said, there's only one book I read. I said, the rest is visual. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I only read the Bible and that's it. And she's like, well, how do you learn everything else? I'm like, there's so much knowledge, wisdom, all that stuff. And I don't even know how many pages are in that thing. Let's just say it's 2 inches thick. Depends on which verse you have or version you have.
Right.
You can look at all the self-help industry, every little book, every nook and cranny, whatever. And you could take like, hey, try good, do this, whatever. And it's in Proverbs.
Yep.
And I, with my patience, with my how I learn, I'm actually more of a visual guy, but I just, for my overall system that works for me, I'll read that at night. Obviously, I'm in a portion right now where it's a little bit boring for me. It's just how it tends to get dry at times. But
Yeah.
what for me, it's why, as much as I want to say why I have all these books, I have books everywhere. It's just I need, for time wise, for everything, or just like I said, the system that I have set up, that is where I get the most knowledge out of. So why have everything else to where I can focus on this, turn around, use the other time free and do YouTube, Joe Rogan, podcast, whatever it is, because all that knowledge from all that stuff anyways is coming from there anyway. So block out all the, not block it out, but just take all the cloud away and just go straight to the source.
Absolutely. Well, and even, even my book, the whole goal of that is truly to be like, I want you to actually dive into the Bible and actually apply it. Because that's the problem, is self-help books make it easy to apply because they tell you you have to do these 3 steps. When you read the Bible, like you said, it's all there. Everything you need, it's there. It's just hard for a lot of people to put the work in to understand what it's saying and to apply it to their life, because that's steps they have to take. So even so my book, Feral Christian, the whole point of that is, for us, we've made Christianity into this thing where there's just these fences that we put around us. And it's like, to be a good Christian means I stay inside these fences. As long as I'm inside of this, then I'm a good Christian. A lot of those fences aren't even in the Bible. We've just literally invented them because we think that they're good ideas. The problem is, really, the ultimate goal of Christianity, of the church, of the bride of Christ, is to go take land. That's kind of, you look in the Old Testament, Israel, God was like, go take land. I'm calling you to this land. So what was in the Old Testament outwardly is kind of still inside of us. It's just different because it's a different covenant that we're living in. But it's all about going and taking land. And it's like, how can we go take land if how we view how good of a Christian we are is based on how well we stay inside of these fences that we've made? It doesn't go. So you just have a lot of frustrated and restless Christians because they feel like they're doing a good job because they're following all of these rules and they're inside the fence, but they become domesticated, because that's what happens when you're inside a fence all day. And you can feel it. You can feel that you're not living it out. And so for me, it's like, this book was just, I guess it was a freedom for Christians who are restless to be like, no, you can actually push through these fences. You can read the Bible and you can do what it says, and you can find a freedom that you don't have. And so that's what my hope is, that no one would even look at my book and say, now I don't have to read the Bible. That they would look at my book and say, oh my goodness, I have to read the Bible. And this is where I have to get kind of my experience from.
Yeah, and I joke around with a friend of mine all the time. I'm at my church up here is Life Church in Green Bay, and some people like it, some people don't like it. I love it because they took, and you can add your 2 cents in after this exactly which way you want to position this, but typically how I got raised up, you go to church, Bible, whatever. So you have to go to church. So everyone focuses on the church instead of the opposite way. Like here, they just said, all right, dude, forget what you just learned. We're going to start you from scratch. We're going to flip you around. Just focus on your relationship first, and then the rest comes. Be passionate about the relationship, and then all your passion is going to convert into friends, family, relationship, church. And all of a sudden, the light bulb went off, and they're joking. They're like, "You're not perfect, so go out and make a mess. You have them with you. You're going to figure out how to get out of the mess." It's they're trying to, like you said, break those fences down, because I think that same anxiety, that same frustration, the same factory mentality, I don't want to use that as it, but like someone punches in, goes to work, punches out, goes home. That consistent pattern through the long term is just going to make them extremely dry and boring, and they just don't like that life. I think that's what happened at least, and my sister and I talk about this all the time. The one that we got raised up in Appleton, that's what happened. It just people go in and out, and they haven't learned how to change with the times. They haven't learned whatever. And when my grandpa passed away, my sister and I, she goes to a huge one down in Houston. Obviously, Life Church is pretty big here, even nationwide with Craig Groeschel and all them stuff too, the speakers and stuff. But we sat there. I sat next to her. I looked at her. We went through the funeral procession for my grandpa, and I looked at her. We walked out. I said, "Sis, the spirit's gone." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You didn't notice that everyone's happy. You just noticed that they're just going by the emotions. Like there's no passion from the person. There's nothing in there." I'm like, "The spirit is gone." And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Here in Houston, people are jumping, giggling, whatever." It's not Baptist. I couldn't tell you which one she goes to, but it's pretty much exactly like Life Church, where it's music blaring. It's a larger base, and you're around it all the time, so you get the difference between like a small, tiny Lutheran church and that one. But it just, I think people want, like they can. I'm at the point too. You're at the point you could just walk in a place and that spirit's gone, and you're like, okay, this is dry. This ain't right. It's like you once you have it, you love it. And for me, it's relationship. I just got baptized a month or two ago again. I wanted to do it the right way and do it the correct way, not because we grew up and hey, you're 8 years old or 1 year old or whatever. Hey, we're gonna baptize like that. I have zero issues with that. It's just you got to be right with that process, not. And I know I use the term process. It's not a process. It's just not putting everyone through it if they don't understand the process behind it. So like I understand it. I know where I came from. It was to the point where I needed it. It's not need. It's like I craved it because I wanted that complete crossover.
That's awesome. Well, dude, first of all, I have a lot of friends that go to Life Church, and I am like a huge proponent of Life Church. Your pastor is the man. He's awesome. And like I said, I actually know a lot of people from the Green Bay area who were so burnt out at their church that they were just in a terrible spot. And they started going to Life Church and had a renewed passion. And to me, that's the ultimate sign, is when people come to your church and they actually have fire again to go do something. That's where it is. And like you said, it's all about relationship. It's really interesting because I went back to Genesis the other day and I was just reading and just realized from the absolute start, God wanted to work through relationship. The one rule that he gave to Adam and Eve is stay away from the rules. Because that's what the tree was, is the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge to know, am I staying in the fence or not? Am I following the rules? He's like, my only rule is don't worry about rules. That's the only, like from the very beginning, he's like, I want to walk with you guys. I want to know you. I want to have a relationship with you. And we just, as people, always tend to gravitate back to the rules. And so that's what, for me, my book is like this permission to be like, you can, like you said, you're not going to get it all right, but like your job is to go and be this transformed person out into new ground that you are called to go take. And to me, it's like the switch in your brain to go from, all right, I'm telling you, stay inside this fence, make sure you're a good person, make sure that you don't get in any trouble. Okay, think about what that does to your brain versus, okay, you're going to be transformed and you're going to go take ground, like, and you're going to go defeat enemies. It's like the difference in your brain of that, like, here's what I'm called to do. And I love that you said like the factory type, because that's exactly what I think. And actually in my podcast, I did one called Sustainable Christianity, where I basically looked at Christianity through the lens of farming. And hold on, let me decline.
Yeah, here I'm gonna pause it for 2 seconds here too, because it's a perfect time to get. Oh, never mind. I thought you were gonna freeze it for a little bit. I'm like, I'm gonna go grab some coffee quick.
Why don't you can go ahead and do that, man? It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I'm just
Oh,
dry on this end of it, so hold on 2 sec. Give me 2 seconds, man. It's like 3 feet behind me.
yeah.
All right, factory farm. No. All right, we're good.
Yeah. So I basically looked, and I don't know if you when I had well, I still do, but I had Netflix, and there's this documentary called Sustainable on it. And have you seen that one?
No, you're gonna laugh at this. Last thing that I watched on Netflix was Shameless, and that was like 3 years ago.
Okay. Well,
I
and it's
just
not even on there anymore, but it's this awesome documentary about this guy who rebought his family farm that had been pretty devastated by like big factory farming. And you probably know way more about it than me, but he had just decided like I'm gonna try to do this like sustainable as far as like small cost. I am rotating crops. I know everything that's being grown. I'm working directly with the people who want to buy this. And it's a very cool documentary of just showing that that's viable. That's a viable way of doing it. And I just kind of put that towards like the idea of sustainable Christianity to where it's like at some point like with churches is you get so set in this everyone's a cog in the wheel and everything is big and impersonal and this is how we do it and that it works for a while but eventually there's stuff that starts to get missed in the soil. You start to have to put so many resources into fixing the problems that are caused by how you're doing it that over time it begins to, you went into it thinking we're going to make so much more food, this can be so much more economical, but at some point trying to deal with all the problems that are caused by how you're doing things becomes less and you're realizing, oh, it actually makes more sense to do this in a small way. And for me, that's my heart is I feel like the church right now needs to get back to relationships. I feel like that was, with COVID and all this craziness, it was, to me, it was the perfect time for us to go. We've kind of taken relationships out of this whole equation and we could have really gone all in on it. And I think a lot of churches missed the boat and we were just like, no, we want to go back to doing church the way we've done it before. But I really think God is pushing his bride to like get back to like relationships. So that's so exciting for you to say about Life Church that they're all in on that because I think that's exactly where we need to be right now.
Yeah, and they actually haven't since the shutdown came. They could I think they had the large De Pere location open for one service, and I think what it was is just people were craving the music and all that stuff. So I think they brought people in like on a Tuesday night, but it was actually monitored. But Sonny and that whole crew, they're shutting De Pere down until they know what's going on. So now what we did is I'm in the LC downtown, which is downtown at the gathering, which is down by the river, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're capped off at like 40. I think what is gathering hold at most 110, but I think we have like 60 people at most.
Mm-hmm.
So what the Sunny of them, they'll record their message just like a normal, routine would do, but then they would, we come in, we have groups, we have people, like we come in, they'll not say they'll feed us, but depends on what day it is. You'll have a little meal, a nice, small,
Mm-hmm.
simple one. Get to know everyone around the table, and then you have the message, and then you have the lessons behind it. So it's more like a school. And I don't want to say it like a school that way, but
Right.
it's so much nicer because you have that mentor right next to you one on one.
Right.
And I think yes, last week we actually had a live service where everyone did it, and Sonny and the whole crew and the band came in because we were still under that restriction for people. So
Mm-hmm.
they're like, you know what? Hey, all these other locations are not open because of thousands of people or whatever the restriction is on the building. She goes, we still have everything online. We have a huge base online. We're still going to build a relationship online. On the other side of it, she's like, and this is even my pastor's like, hey, I want to do what Paul did, where you just have small groups learn old school, go strip it down, go back to the basics, go learn with the relationship, and then share the love outside of their past relationship. So it's a very good. To be honest, I don't even have anything bad to say about it. It just they're doing everything. At least on my knowledge, I haven't been to many other ones, but from deep down, they're doing everything right that is just right. It's tough to explain if you're not in that environment, but it's like, and I walked through the door, the dude's giving us like my pastor Scott, not to want to jump on everyone. It's not. It's just he's giving hugs to everyone. Hey man, welcome.
Right.
How's it going?
Right.
And he's a nutcake just like me. I mean, that's the
Right.
best way of saying it. So he's like a comedian nutcake, and he's like, dude, I messed up last night, and it's just super open about everything, and it's I love it, and it makes deep down, yeah, we're learning everything. Not say learning everything correctly. Deep down, it's like the love's there again, the passion's there again, and we know who's the new one, not say the newbies, and I don't want to joke around with the newbies because you know what it means. Everyone's kind of scared coming in, but he's like, hey guys, jump in the table, have some fun. He's like, hey, you know, this is Joe Blow, this is Tanny, whatever, and make them feel welcome. And it's a very good setup, and you're around it all the time, like you said, with your friends from Green Bay and stuff. I can't even tell you. I haven't been to Celebration in Green Bay, so I can't really compare it to anything on it, but I can't tell you how many great things came out of that church.
Yeah. Well, what I have heard that I think is the biggest testament is they are what people need. So like that is, to me, the bride of Christ, especially in America. We have lost any sort of adaptability, any ability to do something new. And the Bible is so clear. God is like always doing something new. Like God stays the same, but he does new things. And he even says like, I am doing something new. Are you going to perceive it? Are you going to see it? Are you going to be a part of it? And the churches that want to, the churches that say, look, we're not gonna do anything that goes against the gospel, because that doesn't change. But as far as like how we do things, what it looks like, all of that, the churches that are like, God, you start doing a new thing, we're on board, we want to see it, we want to be a part of it, they tend to always be what people need, because God knows what people need. The problem is so many churches, we fall in love with our tradition. We fall in love with our structure. This is what church looks like. You do this, and then you do this, and you do this. And that's where God says, like, I'm going to do something new, and you're not even going to see it. You're not even going to perceive it, because you are so stuck in how you've always done it. And unfortunately, I would say probably 80 to 90% of churches, that's where it is. As God's doing something new, they are totally missing it, because they're so in love with the tradition of church that they're not willing to step into something new. And that's what it sounds like Life Church is doing a great job of, is just like, okay, like we can't do things the way that we used to. No big deal. God's doing something new. So let's figure out what he's doing and let's get on board, because we want to see it. And I think that that's where, if you can do that, you are always going to be what people need. And to me, that's what I hear again and again about Life Church, is they always seem to be what people need at the time. And I think that's just a testament to Galatians 5. It talks about staying in step with the Spirit. Like it lays it out that like the Spirit is moving and doing stuff, and it's our job to like stay in step with that and be willing to move into new seasons if that's what the Holy Spirit's doing.
And I'm going to add what I feel from it. Everyone there is very smart, very scholar. They're very phenomenal people, and they're very knowledgeable on everything and their studies and all that stuff. They have a very, that's the easy way. It's not even going to explain it this way, but like they have a very strong focus of taking something and just take all the fluff away. And just go basic on this. Like they're all in on that relationship, and they make it so simple. They're taking that complex world and they're making it so simple for everyone to kind of say, okay, like you said, you show up and they're renewed. It just, they pulled everything away. And Sonny, I think they're both from the street. I know some of the backstories a little bit, but they just have that very strong focus of saying, hey, yeah, man, we have a semi full of stuff that we can teach you, but let's teach you how to open the door first.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And that's to me. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's just, I think my feelings for different reasons behind it, but I think that's the first feeling where it's just people that are looking into it. And I have some friends that are like, hey, I've heard about it. I know some people that go there, but I never been there. And I took my cousin and he's like, oh my God, it's awesome. He's like, I have friends go here. He's like, we just thought about it. I just never, and I'm not putting them on the spot and putting them on a pedestal. It's just, however it is, that interaction of building that relationship, they just have it down to a T. And
That's what it is.
Yeah. And they're very good at it.
Yeah. Well, Jesus came, I mean, that's what Jesus came to earth and he did everything he did, lived a perfect life, suffered in an excruciating way. The reason he did that was to reconcile us to God. It was to restore relationship. And if you look in the Bible, like that's always the heart of God, is take whatever relationships are severed and let's do anything we can to restore and reconcile those relationships. And that's always, you just see the heart of God. That's always his number one. And he will exhaust all possibilities to reconcile relationships back together. And so as a church, I think we do need to be, as the church, all in on relationships. And like you said, relationships are super messy. That's just what it is. Like the church can't be this nice, tidy, clean, structured place if we're all in on relationships. And I just think there's a lot of churches who aren't willing to let their church get messy. And if you're not willing to let your church get messy, you can't go all in on relationships, because that's what relationships are.
Yeah, and the person that walks in with the suit or the person that walks in with a t-shirt and a hat backwards is the same person. You got to focus on relationship, not the, hey, someone slept in this morning, so the t-shirt, I mean, I grew up around that stuff. I totally get you have the old classic 8-year-old person all prepped up, and then you have that kid and they're like, oh my God, that person's in a hat. Like, that's not church. It's
right.
I mean, you have guys up on band probably playing in the band or anything with the hat backwards with the t-shirt on. They're enjoying life. They're building the relationship. It doesn't matter how you look, it's the relationship.
Absolutely. Well, and you look at, that's what Jesus did. He went after the ones that like no one else wanted. Like, and that's the other thing is like, if we're going to actually be like Jesus, like that's, the Bible talks about it all the time in James and other places, because as the bride of Christ, we want to give special treatment to people who are successful or have money or whatever. And the Bible specifically calls that out, like in James. But even you look at Jesus and he's like, where are the people no one wants? Those are my people. Those are the people I'm going all in on. And I think as the church gets closer to that, we're going to see some pretty amazing things happen.
Yeah, and I'm definitely contest to that, because we're not all perfect, and people were joking around. It's like, hey man, you're so confident you got your stuff together. I'm like, I have nothing together, man. I know what my foundation is. It's just built from there. But it's like, yeah, I may look confident, and people kind of call it cocky at times. It's not that. I'll look around to you and be like, okay, my life is open. What do you want to ask about? It's like, I'm not hiding nothing. I don't need to hide. Maybe financials. I'll hide that, but
sure.
The rest of the stuff, it's like, ask away. You want to learn about what I drink? Go ahead. I'll tell you what I drink in my past. If you want to learn about, drugs, I'll tell you what I had in the past. It's not, I'm at that point and I'm happy with what God and Jesus did to me, is that if anyone wants a question or ask a question, or it's like, my life is about 1,000 pages worth of stuff. So what page you want to go to? I could talk about everything and not be, not say not struggles, but I want to use that struggle to help someone going forward. Basically, nice way of saying it, or not nice way of saying it, simple way of saying it. And
absolutely.
People, not say people don't get that, but it's once you're at that point where you don't care what people think and just kind of go forward. Hey, I need to help people. life got way, 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 way more entertaining and way more, not say way more funner, but just it's exciting. It keeps you going. Obviously, I'm a little dragging here because, like I said, I'm an hour into my fasting and I'm an 8 yet. But
Right.
it's just that's where life is about, and people are like, "How are you so driven?" I'm like, "That right there." It's
Yeah.
once you know your why and you understand your foundation. Well, first of all, your foundation, then you know your why, and then you understand why you're starting to be alert with why you're getting called. Then you can just go, 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 and have fun with it, enjoy it. Don't even care about what naysayers are saying. It's a fun blast time having fun with it. So, but
Absolutely.
what I'm gonna do, man. I'm gonna hit pause on this.
Okay.
Me and you can definitely record probably many, many, many episodes if you really wanted to. So, but like I
Yeah.
said, I am actually crashing right now.
Yeah, man.
So,
Let's put a pause on this. And I mean, I would love to just literally, even if we don't record it, if we even just sit and talk, I'm having a blast. So I mean, I'll come on as much as you want to have me on, because it feels like we're on the same page and we can encourage each other and stuff.
yeah,
So
that is no big deal. I'm definitely gonna message with you right after this too, because I'm gonna need your links and stuff. But that's business part of it. But yeah, no, it's
sure.
a weekly checklist, man. I have zero issues with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I enjoy
Yeah.
learning. So it's
Yeah, man.
I
Awesome.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I think me and you are pretty much on that same foundation. What Sonny and all those guys are on. So you totally get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, man. Well, dude, I know you're crashing, so I'm gonna let you go. But yeah, like I'll message you right away. But then just let me know when the next time is you want to chat. I'd love to do it.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you very much. And I will definitely give me an hour or so. If not for sure by tomorrow, I will definitely have a message for you.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. All right. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
You too.